I believe there's so much power in the word too. And for me on the start line, especially an athlete that I know I'm one of the smaller athletes and not necessarily the strongest. And so there's so much power in the word. And something I do on every start line is I breathe in and say I am and say strong. And that is something that's the last thing I hear myself tell myself to really help me believe, and then just go.
Joining us now, she's already a 3-time gold medalist at the 2026 Milan Cortina Games with several events to go. A multi-sport phenom and the most decorated U.S. Winter Paralympian of all time. Since making her debut in 2012, she's competed at 7 Paralympics, winning a total of 22 medals across 4 different sports: cross-country skiing, biathlon, cycling, and rowing. The author of The Hard Parts, a memoir of courage and triumph, which came out in 2023. She's been hardcore vibing with the food and coffee in Italy. It's Oksana Masters. Hi, Oksana.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm not as good as you are. I can't believe we even found 10 minutes to chat with you in the midst of your insanely busy schedule of winning things. I have to ask you, at this point, I would like to say you should never, ever be surprised to win. But I will agree that you've dealt with a lot in the last few weeks, including a bone infection and a concussion. So I actually did believe you when you said you were surprised by your first gold at these games. So tell us more about the lead up to these Paralympics and why maybe it's surprising to you that you just keep winning everything.
I think why it's so surprising because nothing's ever guaranteed. Yes, that there's a history and I have gold medals from the past, but I'm an athlete that believes that was then and today's a new day. Today's a new race. And I don't carry that over minus the confidence. But the lead up has been very challenging for me personally and just kind of more shook my confidence and the ability even more to believe in myself. Not that I really had that to begin with. But yeah, I missed a lot of training. And I think that's what was hard is I'm an athlete that I might not believe in myself, but I like to go back to the basics and the fundamentals of I believe in my training and the work I put in. And that was the biggest change from this games in the past is missing a huge 3-week window block, which is huge for an endurance sport athlete. It's always a shock.
And yet still working out. So gold medal winning races: para-biathlon sprint Saturday, cross-country sprint Tuesday, para-cross-country 10K interval start, sitting race on Wednesday. Apparently, you just don't need any rest or recovery. Of those races, does anything stand out in particular about something that went very right or something that worked out in your favor that helped you get the gold?
I think what went really right for me is in the first race, I hit all my shots, and that was a huge thing for biathlon. Especially that was wild because this season I've been struggling with shooting. I have not cleaned a race, and cleaning means where you hit all your targets. Mm-hmm. Dirty means where you miss all 5, which I love dirty chai. So that's also maybe why I keep missing. Who knows? But that I think for me went really well, especially because I kind of put it out there as that I've cleaned the sprint biathlon in all 3 of the games from Sochi, Korea, Beijing. And I really wanted to do that here, and I did, and that just put me on gold. And then also we have an incredible team for the 10K. We had so many coaches that were lining up, just screaming at us and giving us splits and information. And just remember specifically hearing, how bad do you want this? And I was like, oh my gosh, I actually want this really, really bad. And that was on the last lap. And that was amazing.
So the talk of others is helpful, but you do a lot of self-talk too. It's really important to you before and during a race, and you do a lot of mindfulness practices. You're counting things to take your mind off the pain. So many tools in your toolbox at this point. When did you first start to develop those and really regularly apply them in your competition?
I think for me, I actually didn't even know that it was a tool in my toolbox, especially the counting, which was, I found out with our sports psychologist that it was a form of mindfulness too, and just meditated kind of state. And I think where a lot of that stuff comes from is from my childhood, going through a lot of therapy sessions and just taking things I did not really know I was doing then and applying it in my sport until I said, hey, I'm counting and this is what this means. I believe there's so much power in the word too. And for me on the start line, especially an athlete that I know I'm one of the smaller athletes and not necessarily the strongest. And so there's so much power in the word. And something I do on every start line is I breathe in and say I am and stay strong. And that is something that's the last thing I hear myself tell myself to really help me believe, and then just go.
You have a second start line midway through the race too. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Halfway through the race is kind of where I reframe it, especially in the longer ones, especially in the 10K and the 20Ks. It's where you're halfway through. That to me is the real start line. That's where the race really starts. And I think will separate a lot of the athletes and competitors. And like that, for me, when I think about this is the start line, this is the real one. Then it's fresh for me, and my mentality, my upper body, I try to like stand up a little taller and just really power through that second half, because that's the most important part of the race. And then the last lap is always dedicated to my mom, which is something that any athlete, when they think about their village and their people who've helped them, that gives you so much. It not only lifts you up, but just gives you so much power.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about Ukraine. You were born there. You often talk about your love for the country, especially after Russia's invasion. I remember at the Paris Games in 2024, Paralympic officials told you to cover up. You had these heart-shaped stickers of the Ukrainian flag before you were competing.
And in Beijing, too. They told me I was trying to everywhere. And that,
Yeah. I mean, they have some pretty strict rules about any sort of show like that. Presumably, they thought they were a political symbol. We've seen this happen for other athletes too, not just you, even last month with the Ukrainian skeleton racer.
Yes.
This year, did you end up bringing any of those Ukrainian heart stickers or anything to show your pride in Ukraine?
I have the stickers with me. I did not put them on my equipment, partially because I was kind of told not to, and a lot of warnings and things like that. I didn't want to jeopardize my races and my race starts and for the team. And I think, honestly, I'll be really, really frank and honest. And I think that's the hardest thing as an athlete is I feel sometimes like you're silenced in a way when you can't show something that is a part of you, that is in my DNA. It's in my blood. I am Ukrainian. And when you can't wear a sticker that it didn't say Ukraine or anything, it was just a heart with a blue and yellow. So it's not political. And it's very, very challenging when you see certain flags where are being flown high, and it's very challenging. And so for me, I channel it as in more fuel and that to me, the secret weapon. And one of my favorite days here was the first day in the sprint, because Ukraine just had such an incredible start to the games. And every time I feel like I can be on the podium at the top of it, it's also a win for Ukraine.
Yeah, you're representing both. Has it been harder at all at these games since the Paralympics did allow Russian athletes to compete under their flag and with their music as opposed to the Olympics?
Yes, very, very hard, and very awkward walking around the village and seeing the flag. And it's very challenging. And I feel like there are sometimes double standards with the way that things are being chosen and how they're applied. And it's hard. It breaks my heart. And it's a bittersweet experience for me here. But that also makes me feel that much more proud, and the screaming at the finish line and just the shock is it's not just for me. Yeah. It's for Team USA. It's for every single Ukrainian. It's for every single female and girl athlete with a disability, and just so much more. And that kind of takes away if I can do well, it takes away from the spotlight of everything
going on. You race with a lot on your shoulders. You're representing so many things. And I think that might be how you're able to dig so deep. You call the stretches of a race that are particularly difficult the pain cave. I'm wondering, on a scale of 1 to 10, how deep and dark the pain cave is in the races that you've already done. And are you about to approach an even deeper and darker one with one coming up?
The pain cave is very, very dark and deep. And honestly, I made it quite a homey vibe and feel now. I've got all my pictures and everything there because I'm ready to live in there and just suffer as much as I can and just dig deep. And yes, especially the 20K, I think it's going to be a huge amount of over an hour in the pain cave from the start. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. And because these courses are very flat and not so technical. So they are to advantage to other athletes and not for my style. So I am ready. I've got my pictures in my pain cave up. I've got every single.
Are you going to binge watch anything? You got an hour.
Oh my gosh, I am a true crime junkie. So
There we
probably
go.
some true crime stuff or a baking show. There's something very like calming about that too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Imagining a baking show in the pain cave feels like a
Yes.
good combo. You're also just like cooking up a win. You're just baking the win in the pain cave, ready to emerge at the end with a beautiful, popover or whatever. Longest ever race at the Paralympics, especially in the sitting classification. Do you like having that addition this year?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've actually not raced this 20 distance. I think the biggest one we did was a 15K in Beijing, and I'm really excited about this. I know normally with normal lead ups, the longer, the harder, the grittier, the tougher are better for me. But yeah, I'm really, really excited to just see. This is, for me personally, the cross country long is the one I've been eyeing from the start of when Milan Cortina Winter Paralympic Games were announced. And the 20K was that, because for me, that's the one race that got away. In 2018, I was on track to have an incredible games, and I still did, but it was with a broken elbow. So that was the one race that slipped away. And I fought so hard for a bronze medal. And in Beijing, it was a silver. So that's the one I really, really would love to get a golden.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Okay,
quite
last
hungry
question for
it.
you. You and your fiance, Aaron, who's a fellow Paralympian, have said
Yeah.
coffee is your love language. So what's the go-to order in Italy, and has it been living up to the hype?
In our rooms, he makes me coffee
Aw.
every morning with our pour over AeroPress that we brought from home. And then cappuccinos. We are totally breaking the rules here and drinking cappuccinos and milk after noon that you're not supposed to do in Italy. And so that's really the order, the double cappuccinos or espresso macchiatos with just a double shot of espresso with foam
Amazing.
on top.
I have to say I didn't follow a single rule in Italy for the Olympics. I was like combining hot chocolate and coffee and like putting sugar in things. I feel like
Oh
I
my
left
gosh,
them
their
all
hot chocolate
deeply
is
scarred.
so good.
So good.
You need
so
a
rich.
spoon to
Yes.
eat it.
But if you put a couple espresso shots in there, you're good.
I'm doing that next.
You're
I haven't
good.
done
That's
that
how
yet.
you could treat yourself for your like 11th gold, however many you end up. Congrats on everything. Thanks so much for making some time for us, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you so, so much.